Welcome to the Evergreen Creative Company podcast. We like to call it the Evergreen Creative Podcast. It's a little bit shorter to say, but our main goal for this podcast is to share our experiences as a company through the projects that we work on a weekly basis. Whether you're a client or another creator, you're going to get to hear our experiences from each project that we work on. So if you find value from this podcast, please leave a review and also share this with your friends and colleagues.
I think professional videographers would learn to hit record every once in a while.
You just assume that your stuff is reliable.
We are reliable, by the way.
On occasion.
Most of the time. We always figure it out and make things work. So
most of the time.
Anyways, this is Team Evergreen. I'm Josh.
Houston.
Hannah.
And Kristen is MIA. No, I'm just kidding. She's at the house.
She quit.
Doing stuff. Yeah, last week was too much. We're dealing with a momzilla right now that's all that she could take.
Gotta love it. Am I loud enough?
I think so. Okay.
I'm definitely loud enough. I'm gonna tone it down.
Simmer down. Anyways, so if you're new to the podcast, our podcast is made to just kind of talk about our experiences with the projects that we work on. So things that we learn from, some wins, some things that we can improve on, and hopefully the processes that we talk about might help someone else out. That's kind of the heart and intention of this podcast, along with just normal talk shop kind of stuff. So yeah, last week, as usual, we are always working on various types of projects. And
everything under the sun.
Pretty much. The only thing that we really don't work on is music videos, and
for good reason.
Yeah, it's no offense to musicians out there, but y'all are the hardest ones to work with. I say that, but then I just mentioned a momzilla. Those are definitely the hardest to work with. And actually, we'll get into that just a little bit. It's actually motivating me to make some more educational content to try to not necessarily just avoid conflict, but just I think education in any industry, whether you're the client or the the client or the company, it's always a learning experience. There's not just a moment where you just arrive and know everything. And so, we're relatively still a young company, so we're still learning on some levels of stuff, but the times change so much that even if you learn something, you still have to adapt all the time. So I'll just get that part of the discussion. So on wedding side of things, it's some of the problems that we run into is that weddings are not recorded the same way that they were 10 years ago. It's a completely different way. Yes, there's probably still some companies out there that record that way, but for the most part, the industry is overwhelmingly changed in the last few years. On the wedding video side of stuff, it's not just your uncle in the back with the camcorder hitting recording, let it just roll kind of stuff. It's actually it's a mini production in a sense. So on a given wedding, we have 2 workers. If it's just a short film kind of thing. And I could even go into our short films are not highlight videos. They're not documentary style kind of stuff. We have a package for that, which we call a doc edit package, but short films are not in the way that we do stuff is not a highlight film. So it's just you really have to, if you're a client, you've got to ask the company, what is your style? How do you do things? And on the company's end of stuff, we have got to make sure that we communicate our stuff. We can't assume anything.
Which we do.
And we do to the best of our ability. Yeah, and that's why it's so different, because every company is different. If you look at other filmmaking companies or photographers in the area, everybody's got their different style. There's some stuff that are similar to others, but even if the end product looks similar, it doesn't mean that the process is similar. So there's just a lot to learn from. And so anytime we have a conflict, yes, it can be frustrating. at the time, but like we're also trying to figure out ways like, okay, so what can we do better to, like I said, not avoid conflict, but how do you handle it, or how can we communicate in a better way, and things like that. So yeah, we're just working through that now. Um,
Read your contracts.
yes, and I think that's something on the corporate side of stuff that I think that, as boring as it is to just read the contract to even the corporate side of stuff, we do it with our wedding clients, because I don't want to be told that like, well, I didn't know that wasn't said, or that like we didn't talk about that. It's like,
so we have your name.
We did.
Signed, yeah.
But yeah, even to your point, even if you don't go over stuff, whatever it is, like most of the time the company will read the stuff to you or explain the different bullet points at least. So yeah, it's definitely worth taking the time, whether the client or the company, to understand the whole thing and not just assume that things are just going to work out. Because the times that you assume things, that's when it's going to blow up in your face. But yeah, so let's jump into our projects. I'll talk on Kristen's behalf with some stuff and touch on some of the things that she did on her side. Like there was a birthday party and an event party that was at on Sunday. And so again, we get to be part of some really cool projects to where we get to be part of people's moments and get to capture them. There was I think it was a second year birthday party for a little boy. His name's Sully, and really cool family. Elena, she's another photographer, really talented. So it's one of those things like, sometimes like you look at a photographer like they're better than I am, and they still hired me. So like, or hired the company or whatever. She does fantastic work, and she hired us on to do her birthday party for her boy. And the thing is, like obviously she could have done the stuff herself, but she'd lose out on
You kind of want to
just
be
being
present
in the moment. Being present. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah. So, but I'm pretty confident, like one of the other reasons why, also just like you said, to be present, but also knowing how the value of capturing that kind of stuff. And so, we're not guaranteed the next moment. So being able to have, updated photos or videos and things like that is such an important thing and aspect of our company, because we get to try to document that kind of stuff. So rabbit trail, tech talk for a second. Every year I'm like this, like I'll start with the big phone. And so this is the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Great phone, amazing battery life, great camera, performance, like no complaints whatsoever, except I just get bored with stuff really fast. So I end up usually always downsizing like mid-year. Most of the time it's like just to the regular Pro size. But this time I'm like, I'm going to try the mini out this time. I've heard, well, one, you have it, but then two, the reason why I didn't do last year's model is because I just heard the battery life is awful. Like you can even make it through half a day kind of stuff. I'm like, I can't do that. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
I'd say it's going to be quite the jump going from the biggest one to the
So
smallest
back
one.
to my question, do you send it in? What happens?
So it's a little bit of a work. What's the order of stuff of what's going to happen is Kristen's going to take over this phone, and we're trading in her phone.
Nice.
And when I looked at the values and stuff, as long as they give us the full value, which most of the time they do, in the condition that her phone is in, we should get up to $650 trade-in value.
Nice.
Which will more than cover that mini, right?
Well, yeah, pretty well. I got the 256 gig one,
so it's a
little bit more
So,
storage, but still, it was like $170 left over, kind of thing. But like if I was going to try to sell Kristen's phone by itself, I would have got less than $650 back. So I thought that the trade-in value was pretty good, and like I said,
Apple has a decent trade-in program.
As far as values go, it's one of the best. Samsung every once in a while will like blow everybody's mind. AT&T right now has a
like,
killer
give us
deal.
I would
phone.
rather get $100 back from Apple than use a Samsung phone. I know you have a whole thing with Google Pixel, but
Right.
like,
Well, I mean, like my main phone is an iPhone because
Yeah.
of my workflow kind of stuff. I don't think I could. I mean, I could. It would just take a lot of getting used to.
Yeah.
Like
I
I could do it,
couldn't.
but it's so
but
tough.
no,
Like
because like if you don't have
AirDrop and
iMessage, like all the
yeah.
things, your Apple computer, like
right.
it's like those
If I was on a
things.
PC, it'd be a whole different story.
But it's like those things wouldn't work together.
There's some apps where, like on the AirDrop side of stuff, there's some third-party apps that work pretty good.
Droid.
But then you're taking up storage to do something that the iPhone has built in.
Right. So
So
exactly. I mean,
why would you do
I'm
that?
not arguing those points at all, but
We've
I'm
talked about
arguing
it.
it would just it would be a big adjustment to try to make an Android device my main device. But with that said, though, I always have my Pixel with me,
Yeah.
and so I am using it on a daily basis as like a sidekick kind of thing.
We talk about it all the time that like I had a short detour with the Galaxy S3 and it was a great phone, but when you're so like Apple, they get their hooks in you.
Yeah, and it's
When
like
you're
even
this
just the
deep in the
small little things,
ecosystem.
like how MagSafe has changed the way I use my stuff. Like all my charging devices are all MagSafe. My car mount's MagSafe. So I have a MagSafe case on my Pixel to where like that would help out. My wallet's MagSafe. So it's just like those things. I invested into AirTags. There's no point in having AirTags if you have anything but
Those
an iPhone.
scare me because every time that we're doing a wedding or something,
Do you see that?
and we
something's
have to
following you?
come get all the like stuff, whatever. It's like for the next 3 days, it's just like an AirTag has been following you. And I'm like,
Well, at least that
What?
it's doing that job.
Yeah.
yeah, but
let
it
you know.
scares.
But
Always
yeah,
forget.
Evergreen is watching
we're
you.
deep in the Apple ecosystem. I can never go back.
Like AirPods, like obviously you can
Yep.
use it as just regular Bluetooth, something with another kind of
But
device, but
Just
just
popping open
the-
that case and it immediately connecting, it's a different.
you can't beat their ecosystem and
The convenience
And I'll
factor.
never use anything other than a Mac. Like
Right.
I haven't used a PC since probably the 8th grade.
it's been I mean, I have a PC at the house, but it's literally just a big paperweight right now. We don't even use it. We need to
I'm
just sell
so
the
far
thing.
removed. Like I don't even know how to use a PC anymore.
See if I can
We had a
sit back
friend
up.
asking me about PCs the other day at dinner. I was like, I'm trying to get a gaming PC. You know anything about that? Not a
Nope.
clue. Not a clue.
I will just go the console route. But yeah, so there's our rabbit trail for the or one of
Anyways.
them at least. But yeah, like
I need to get a new phone.
with that said though, I will be doing some content on my Bantech stuff. I got an idea for like out with the old and with the new or downsizing kind of stuff, and
There's
So-
your plug.
yeah, follow me on Bantech.
Well,
Where it
see,
all
The
started.
YouTube comp.
I need to get a new phone, and I've been trying to get one for several months, but then we keep having to spend money on things like a Coldplay concert or
Were you so
Gas.
surprised? So
I was
surprised.
shocked. Absolutely shocked. Yeah, I told my parents last night. They were like, "Were you?" Because they were like, "We were so excited when we found out. What was your reaction?" I was like, "Oh, I knew. I knew."
She
Probably.
figured
How
it
was
out.
it though?
It was awesome.
It was so
it's
good.
a crazy show. Like they
It was insane.
put on a ridiculous show.
It was so good.
Like they
I will never recover. Probably.
like it's probably only rivaled by like the level of a show that like U2 puts on.
Yeah, that's what my dad kept saying last night. He was like, "Well, you know, they take a lot of inspiration from you two, so they're probably like,
like these
let's try
yeah.
to."
they had
put on
these
something like
giant
that.
circular like image mag like LED walls and then like this weird like curved like LED wall in the back, and all the lights and stuff were ridiculous. They were shooting fireworks off the whole night.
It was crazy.
Lasers
So
and
when you
stuff
go to a
is-
show, do you like critique stuff, or do you like how are they doing?
I
that?
was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because before Coldplay got in there, so we were at the
Oh,
Coldplay
yeah.
show in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta,
Mhm.
and before Coldplay got there, they had two opening acts, and I had never been to the Mercedes-Benz, and
Mhm.
I'm like, this is a new stadium, and the acoustics are just trash.
Well, especially because until Coldplay got in there, like no one was in there.
So
I mean,
is that the Brave Stadium?
No, the
it's
Brave.
the Falcons.
It's the Falcons
Okay.
Stadium.
So
yeah, the
indoors.
Falcon. Yeah, it's an indoor stadium.
Okay.
The Falcons play there, and then the State Farm Arena is next door. That's where the Hawks play.
Okay.
But
But like no one was in there, and so for the first 2 acts, you couldn't even hear that. Like it was literally like
that'd be tough.
the first person, I had no idea who she was. I couldn't hear a word she was saying. And the second opening act was her.
Mm-hmm.
And I only knew half of what she was saying because I know some of her songs.
the stadium was pretty empty,
It
and
was
also
terrible.
if you've ever
It's
been
nothing
to
to bounce the sound.
if you've ever been to Mercedes-Benz, they have like a roof thing that opens up too, and that was closed for the first 2 acts.
Oh,
Until
wow.
So that was
Coldplay.
closed, nobody in the seats, so it's just sound bouncing off all these empty seats and off the roof. Sounded awful. But the second Coldplay comes out, all these empty seats that were there are suddenly filled. It was a sold out show.
The way that I described it was, you know, the teacher in Charlie Brown.
Like all the adults
Oh,
in
yeah,
Charlie
yeah.
Brown, how they sound.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like.
But
Ugh.
the second Coldplay got out there, every single one of those seats was
Oh my
filled.
God,
They
it
give you
was
all these
so
these
good.
LED light up bracelets that are all synced to each other.
Oh, that's cool.
And then it sounded amazing because they opened the roof,
Yeah.
all the seats were filled. So
It
like
was amazing.
That's
And
cool.
Chris Martin is 45, but he has so much energy still.
he has more energy than I do at 25.
And he's been doing this for, 20 years, but he knows how to put on like a fantastic show. So
I think my favorite
was a fun time.
show is Korn. Like I've seen them a couple
Oh, yeah.
times, and
I bet that's ridiculous.
it's
Korn.
just
I bet.
sick. So good. But that's my lane of entertainment.
Yeah, I haven't been to a show that big in a long time because I always go into like
55,000 people.
small venues and clubs and stuff, seeing
Right.
like indie bands or like metal bands back in
Or
the day,
the stuff that we get to
or the stuff we get to film. Yeah,
Mudfest and stuff.
Yeah. Jelly roll.
so that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, except kind of gutted a little bit because parking was $50.
God, it was ridiculous.
50.
$50.
They'll get you because they know you got to park there.
Yeah, that's tough. Like I could go on another rabbit trail. Like I would love to go see the Celtics at the finals, and it's like some of the ticket hold or whatever ticket websites that you go to. Some of them say, yeah, all the fees are included, so that's nice to see that. But then it's still expensive. But then you go to Ticketmaster or something like that, and there's not any of the fees included in the normal
No,
price.
you have
So
to
it's
go
like-
into the filters and select it.
and then you get stacked on that. Then you have to consider parking. Then you got to consider all the other different. It's like, gosh,
It's like
I know.
So
Ticketmaster
expensive.
has gotten crazier and crazier over the years where it's like, cool, the
Fee
base
after
price of the
fee
ticket
after
is like
fee.
$90 and you add it on and then they're like, all right, cool, here's like a $15 surcharge and here's a $26 service fee
Yeah,
and here's
it's
this. And I'm
ridiculous.
like, what do y'all need this money for? Anyway,
because they can.
another rabbit trail.
Right.
It's-
All right. So
Have we even hit all
we
of
haven't
Monday
even hit
yet?
Monday yet. We haven't even hit Monday yet. All right. So the other project that Krista was on was corporate party, just photography coverage. And so that was at Waterworld. Good contact. We're always trying to do stuff with the city, so it's always fun to still do some stuff like that.
Houston has never been to Waterworld.
We got to make that change. It's like
Do I really need to go?
well, for one, we got to do a content shoot there. We got to set that up pretty soon, and there's some other stuff going on too that will end up being there. But we got a pretty good working relationship with Waterworld for sure too. Cut this part out, editor. We'll probably can get you all some season passes if you want it.
Nice.
You
Yeah,
wanna
that'd
hit
be
up
good.
Waterworld
Kelly
this
was
summer
like
when it's
literally
150 degrees?
Whatever you guys want. And she's serious about it. She's like,
Nice.
we're at that level with them. So like, okay.
Good.
Like our family has season ticket stuff or passes right now.
Right on.
That'd be nice,
The slides are
considering-
fun. Like they're super fun.
It'd be nice considering we walked outside this morning and it was
You're already swimming. Like,
Like,
that's the way I describe-
literally.
like you walked outside. It was so humid today.
We live literally like 3 minutes from Waterworld too.
All right.
Yeah.
So, so coming back into things, as some context, we were just talking. We're old first. We're talking about the weather.
Yeah.
So, anyways, like today, it is
the
super, super, super humid outside.
89%.
Literally felt like I walked out the door and I was swimming. We were just talking about Waterworld kind of stuff. But anyways, that's the reason why we're even sitting in here right now, because I was like, it is too hot even right now to shut that AC off to record this podcast. So I'm like, so I brought the recorder over here, put on my headphones. I'm like, can I hear the AC? And you can to a degree, but nowhere near as if we were inside of there. And
If you didn't tell them, they probably wouldn't know.
Now I get
Right,
to sit
and you
here
probably
and
know.
sit in the AC.
And I'm kind of cool with this casual like setup too. So I mean, obviously you are. Kick back, Hannah's in her spot.
Yeah.
So
I would kick back if there wasn't a mic here. So.
you can move it to the side.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Monday. Let's get to Monday so we can get through this podcast.
How long have we been recording?
Houston and I started the day off with Farm Center recording, which that project went really
that was
well.
last week. Huh.
I thought that was pretty well executed. The hardest part was just like scheduling type stuff. And if that's the hardest part, I'm okay with that. But we showed up with a teleprompter, had a couple scripts to go through, and edited the video. And there was like one minor adjustment, and it was good to go. So I was pretty pleased with that project. Like, it's one of those just smooth processes. Like, the more, like we say this almost every podcast about pre-production kind of stuff and planning. And just the more that is talked about beforehand, the better. I'm a fan of teleprompter stuff. I used to be kind of against it because you could almost tell that someone was reading. But as long as the person presents themselves well, I'm a fan of it, because like what we were there recording like maybe 30 minutes tops,
Yeah.
if that. It took longer to get set up than it did actually record.
Right.
And so, but if we did not have a script and the talent was just going off of memory or bullet points or things like that.
If they're not used to doing
Yeah.
that for their work, then it's like every 5 seconds. Oh, let me start that
gonna
part
have to
over.
go back over. Yeah, it's just, we would have been out there for a solid hour, I promise. And this weather is not, back to the weather is
Yeah.
not
It's not
friendly. We're just in that
conducive for
season here in the South that if we can figure out ways to do stuff in a short amount of time outside, the better. And also let's see what we can do inside. But yeah, I was pretty pleased with how that process went. Like, improvements wise, I mean, honestly,
I have another small rabbit trail.
God.
one sec, like the only improvement that well, not say only, but something is just like on the graphic side of stuff. Like, we learned some things. We got some plugins that helped map out like some borders and things
Pixel
like that.
Film
So trying to figure out
Studios
some
thing.
more graphics into things to kind of enhance that. I mean, that's like the critique. I would just be able to
Yeah.
take time to do that kind of thing. But
That's on our end.
that, I mean, the client was happy. I was happy with how it all turned out, and I think it'll work.
What made me think of it is looking at that guy right there. So before Thursday, when we left, Houston scheduled a haircut because his hairdresser just had a baby. So she is not cutting hair right now. So he looked up this place and it had good reviews and everything. So went in, and this lady was in there, and he was telling her, oh, I want like a skin fade, whatever. It's the haircut he always gets. We showed multiple photos. He showed photos of what it normally looks like. She was asking about what the back normally looks like. I showed her several photos. And then she just ended up giving him an undercut.
Oh, she
There was
messed
no
my stuff
fade.
up.
There's not a fade. Show Josh what the back of your hair looks like. There's no fade happening.
It's just a straight cut.
Great. And it's grown out a little bit.
Show the back.
So just a straight
There's no
line,
fade.
basically.
So it was terrible though, because then this weekend he just wore a hat the whole time because he was like,
It's not
I
too
can't
different from
even
normal though.
try
Yeah.
to. But
all good.
for like concert and like dinner and like things like that, like we went to a nice dinner at this Italian place. He wore a hat,
She
like-
messed my stuff up, so I had no choice.
and
It's all good.
it was
Yeah.
really
It's like
unfortunate timing.
The level of like, because like I'll usually get like the clippers with no guard like down here, like to just skin the sideburns and stuff off, but then it goes up a little bit. She just took that and like went all the way to the top, so I just
and
was
we
like
both realized.
bald.
But you know how Houston doesn't like conflict, and he doesn't want to have to like be the bearer of bad news or anything. So literally, and he's very nice and he never wants to hurt people's feelings. So she finished it and she was like, "How does it look?" And he was like, "That's perfect." Like,
Oh man.
and then he walked out and was like, "What am I gonna do?"
Anyways,
I haven't paid for a haircut in like
Oh.
14 years.
lucky you.
What do you do? Do you just
Shave
go
it.
in and shave it?
Yep.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
You did it here?
No, it was like a hotel.
Miss
Oh,
America
gotcha.
stuff. The week that we're gone for that.
You just brought a razor into work.
But I mean, before I shaved it, I did hair clippers and I just kept it short. So,
Tuesday.
Well,
Tuesday.
also,
We got to get through this week.
wait, but also it was like y'all were out taking photos and things, and his hair, when it's like long or whatever, it is just drenched in this heat.
oh,
So
and,
that's like a big reason that he was like,
Those
"Oh, I
pictures you
want
sent me, I'm like,
to get a fade."
like my hair is just like so wet, and I've got like gnats crawling into my mouth.
it was really hot. We'll get to that whole part in a second too, because like that'll probably wrap up the podcast the majority of the time. But the other thing that happened on, I think it was Monday, was another wedding consult that I'm actually pretty excited about. I think this couple is going to be really good to work with. And it'll actually segue into the open house stuff that happened. So they hired us on for videography. And if you don't know, one of the big surprises that we had was revealing a Volkswagen bus, the 1976 one. And we're turning it into a photo bus and for, events, weddings, all that kind of fun stuff. And so I dropped that information on them and the groom was like, yeah, like, let me know when that's available because they're definitely super interested in that. So it was nice to see that positive feedback right away. But later in the week, so Thursday, like the rest of the week was just like between the open house stuff, getting ready for that. It was just like
We didn't really do a lot,
editing and taking care of website stuff. Like Hannah and I are still crunching through that stuff, which like wedding website is pretty almost wrapped up. We're just a few minor details to include, and then we'll start cranking through the corporate one. I think that one's just going to be a work in progress though. I'm not going to try to just get that one out, but the photo bus website is almost done as well. We're just working out some details like pricing and we have to communicate with clients like with the photo bus, like at the current state of what it is rentable, but it's not like the completed product of what we want just yet. Like, so there's some updates and changes that we want to make happen. So it's like, you might rent it now, but it might not look this way by the time that you have it. But I've got a whole blog post and some other website information that kind of explains all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it's gonna be pretty cool. Like, hopefully be able to rent that out to them. But which is, I think their wedding's in September at the Southerly house, which we have not filmed there yet. So that should be a pretty nice setup and stuff too. So just moving into the open house, that was one of the biggest things that happened last week, which I thought went extremely well.
There were a lot of people.
Like I said in a post, like I definitely felt the love and support from people, and that it meant a lot to Kristen and I and just the team in general to see that kind of show up. Like we had a lot of people. The bus was a hit.
10 a.m.
People stayed, like came at
The
10
entire
a.m.,
time.
didn't leave until 2:30.
Yeah, so like that was really cool to see that. But like it makes me super proud of like what we've done as a company too. Just to, if you kind of step back and look at who showed up, like we had city officials, we had clients, we had friends, we had all kinds of backgrounds, all kind of demographics, period. And so it's like it's something I am proud of, like that we're able to make that kind of impact on the community in a wide spectrum. Like I don't think many companies can say that. Like they always are just kind of niched down to one kind of
You've definitely
group
not
of people.
shoehorned yourself into any one group.
Right.
Like,
I know. I mean, there are people from the I don't know what hospital, eye center, something, health center. One of the places.
There's like Child Advocacy Center.
Ledbetter.
like all kinds of different medical industry people. The fire marshal was here. Say Hot Dogs was here. So another like small business owners, Brett from Sticks and Cones, artist friends like Oren, the guy in the picture behind us. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So it was just really, really cool to see that kind of support from so many different areas. And so like we definitely appreciate everyone who showed up, and also the messages of like the ones that couldn't make it and stuff too. That means a lot. So it's definitely motivation that helps us. It's
parents,
encouraging.
I mean-
Yeah, it's like that happened
All
too.
sorts of family.
My mom showed up.
Yeah.
The Kristen's mom showed up. Some of her
Her
sisters.
sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, so good family,
was
friend support
It was
too.
a packed house all day.
Yeah, like
My
from
dad
the start.
came, and that's a big thing. My dad comes to nothing.
Oh, well,
he's
speaking-
he's not he's a very introverted.
Well, did he like walk past it at one point? And say,
yeah,
this
he
is
he
me"?
did
literally
pull
we
up
saw
and
him.
leave.
He pulled up, and I was like, "Oh, I think that's my dad." And then he moved, and then just never came in. And I called him, and he was like, "Yeah, I left." I was like, "Come back," and he
That's
came
funny.
in.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
And then another dad that showed up was Dave Geiler's dad.
I know. He showed up the day before when we were in the office by ourselves, had zero clue who he was.
I knew that I had seen him before. What had I seen him at?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I had seen him
He
before.
shows up to a lot of
He
like
looked
peg
he
type
looked
stuff.
very familiar, but I had no idea who he was. And he walked to the office the day before and was like, "Congrats on 1 year." I'm like, "That's tomorrow." But thank you.
Yeah. Here's a business card.
But yeah, he's the father of Dave Geiler, who is the owner of Premier Entertainment Group. And his dad has always been a big supporter of it. He follows our stuff, watches our stuff, likes it, shares it and stuff too. So yeah, just even on that
And-
level, for him to come back, like
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Also, my mom said that taking the photos in the photo bus was the most fun she'd ever had, which is so shocking of her to say that it was the most fun that she had ever had.
There's a lot of
Everything
good
she
feedback
does is
about
the
it.
most
Like a
fun
lot of
she's ever
people love that. So just like a little backstory on the photo bus is that it's got to be about 2 years at this point that I saw something online. It was like scrolling through my Instagram feed or something like that. And I was like, that looks like a really cool idea. And like, that's just where like my creative gears just start turning, and even the business side of it starts turning. And I'm like, I can't wait to get this up in the mountains. I can't wait to actually take it like in camping type spots, foresty areas, beaches, all those kind of picturesque like situations
Anywhere
kind of stuff.
besides Dothan?
Well, there's some cool stuff like the sunsets that we've been having these last few days.
Yeah.
Like that, like honestly, I've thought about it. Like we need to get this over to a field somewhere or something like that and have that sunset in the back with the bus. I think that'd be a really cool picture. Kristen's parents, they have some land that they bought recently in the Cowarts area, and the way the sunset, according to what they say, it sits behind some trees kind of stuff. Like that could be a pretty good.
Yeah, we have a friend
opportunity.
who just bought some land too, so we could always try to use that
Yeah,
as well.
so we got to get the thing into the shop this week just to get like we know it's running and stuff like that, but we need to know the whole story so we're just not surprised with
Air
anything.
conditioning.
Air conditioning would be wonderful. But yeah, once we get that figured out, we're definitely going to be taking it for some more photo opportunities. Speaking of that, we got to have some fun after the open house. We'll get back to open house in a second, but like at the end of it, we got to bring out the Bronica Zenza medium format camera
ETRS.
and
Shoot some film.
got some film shot. Houston took up on that side of it. So sent off the film the other day. And was that Ben?
Yeah, it was fun.
Ben just needs to sit down too.
Yeah.
I should have been cut my hair, but I know he's busy.
Yeah, that's what his original plan. He was like, I'm gonna see if Ben can do it, and he's like, he never has openings.
So, I mean, James, I think he's more capable of doing stuff too.
I forget he cuts hair too.
But yeah, so I did like the digital side of stuff. Alec, he did some BTS things. So we were able to gather, at least on the digital side of stuff, we're waiting on the film stuff. Film is arriving today. Hopefully we can get back to us in a week or so. But on the digital side of stuff, I was able to edit the photos they wanted. Got some filmy kind of preset kind of stuff going on. And I was able to build out the website decently enough to where it's good enough to definitely launch as soon as we get all the information that we need put onto it. So that's exciting. I want that to get out into the Google algorithms as soon as possible. But then also just like Instagram, like I haven't announced our Instagram and Facebook kind of stuff. I'm trying to build up a little bit of content so that way when we send people there, there's something there. But it's at Evergreen Photo Bus. That's the name of that side of the business. It's a sub business from Evergreen. Some fun things or some fun facts, like even with like the Dragonfly. So we're naming the bus Lori, and it comes from Aunt Lori, which was one of Kristen's aunts that passed away, and one of her things was the Dragonfly. So there's some like deeper meaning behind this stuff. So we thought it'd be really fitting to name the bus Lori. We'll have like different branding and stuff like that on the bus. Like we thought about sticker kind of things, but we're just going to go with magnets so that way we can take it off if we want to not have
That's
that
a
kind of
good
stuff.
idea.
Yeah.
I've seen some examples online just looking for inspiration and stuff, and I see some buses have like the Instagram handle on the window panel or something like that. But I'm like, if we want to do a style shoot or use it for even like a movie set or something, you're not going to want anything on it. So we thought magnets would be the key to that. But yeah, so like that's some of the even the meaning with Evergreen, where the Dragonfly comes from and stuff like that. So yeah, Photo Bus, it's pretty much, it's like a soft launch at this point. We're not fully out there doing stuff, but there was a ton of interest for different events or situations, even from the attendees from the open house. And so yeah, we're pretty pumped about it. I think it's going to be a pretty big success. We've had our eye on trying to get this done for, a couple of years at this point, and it was just, all right, let's pull the trigger and make it happen. But yeah, pretty excited about it. Evergreenphotobus.com.
Sweet.
But yeah, you were pretty sweaty at the end of the photo shoot.
Yeah, he was we had to go home and he had to take
He was
a
like,
shower.
I got a shower so I can go get a haircut.
And then it was just
I was like, they don't wash your hair at your
terrible.
place?
It was so humid. It was hot.
It was rainy that day.
Flies
too.
and
that
gnats
was-
were like all over the place.
We lucked out on the weather because it was like changing, or the forecast was changing like every hour.
Yeah,
the day before it was saying it wasn't going to rain too much or
Yeah.
like slight possibilities. Woke up in the morning, checked it, pretty much the same story, but then I got done out of the shower, checked it again, and like complete turnaround.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be a thing where we'll be outside and it'll look like it's going to storm, and we'll look on the app and it'll be like, oh, like sunny and cloudy, whatever. And then it'll start raining, and then we look at it and it's like 100% rain for the next 4 hours.
Right.
And it's like, what is going on?
And being that there is no air conditioning, like I'm riding with the window
Oh,
down
yeah.
kind of stuff. I'm like, if it rains, I have to roll the window up
Yeah.
or have like a little bit of splash happening. And I'm just like, oh, this is too hot. And I'm also nervous about like humidity and the windshields fogging up and stuff and not being able to see out the window.
Yeah.
So I'm like, please no rain. But I've
Yeah.
driven it in the rain a couple times at this point. I think that one of the days that we couldn't find Kristen's car key, and so we both had to be in two different places at times. So I'm like, well, I'll take the bus. And it rained that day pretty bad. So yeah, it was
Well, we had,
one of those days.
after all that, we ended up going to Atlanta on Friday. And let me just say, driving in Atlanta is
The
Whole different
absolute
extremely
worst.
stressful the entire time. It's just like so much anxiety and
Out
like
of everywhere in this country that I've driven, like Los Angeles, New York City, like all these places, none rivals Atlanta, Georgia. It
It's-
is the
it's a different
absolute
beast.
worst.
It's a
I got
different
hit by an
beast.
Uber driver, got rear-ended by an Uber driver in Los Angeles. Still easier driving there than it is in Atlanta, Georgia.
The most, I don't know, I'm not gonna
except
say
like
recent years.
Washington D.C.
Our Kristen and I's 10th anniversary, we went up to Boston for that trip, and she got to learn where my mentality comes from pretty quick, just from the traffic. Because like the mentality there is like you make a decision and you go. Like you don't hesitate, you don't like try to overthink it or try to assume someone's going to do something else. You just do it, and you continue to just push along. Like that's the way Boston is. And like when I was up there, because I was away from it for so long, it was definitely nerve wracking. Like we were in the Ubers and stuff, and these drivers were just like, oh, let me just look at my
close
phone.
your eyes.
Yeah.
Well, my parents used to live in Atlanta, so they know like how bad it is. But we were talking to my dad about it last night, and he was like, it's probably still not as bad as Washington, D.C., though, especially a few years ago when, we didn't have iPhones and we were driving up there and he had a GPS.
MapQuest printed out.
He had a GPS system, whatever, up there, and he was like, it was pretty much like,
Garmin.
why do I even have this? And he said that he didn't think he did, but he definitely like grabbed it and threw it down. Like it was not working out.
I had an actual GPS. Like I feel like I was just on kind of like the tail end of that, where it's like the phone maps weren't too great, so you still use the GPS. Like I had one for a few trips, like when I was in high school, like when I first got my license. But like,
it was like a big deal back then when you had a Garmin or something.
Yeah, that's what we
Like
had.
it was
like I'm
like, ooh,
so
you got one of those.
Fancy.
so glad that I don't have to like pull out a map and figure out where to go. Like,
Yeah, I mean, driving with one of those though is pretty much like Michael Scott driving in a lake. He's like, she knows.
It would be tough. Like I don't think I don't know. Yeah, there's no way to have to do that now, because just looking at Dothan, it's like if you're not on your P's and Q's, like you are gonna get in an accident because people are just, you have to be on the defensive driving end of stuff here. Like up north, it's more of offensive driving. Like I said, you're just like going, like you're just doing it. You're not waiting for someone else to do something. There's no waving someone else by. Like if you're at a four-way stop.
Oh my God, that's my pet peeve. I'm like, go when it's your turn. I don't want to go before it's go.
So yeah. Yeah. It's Atlanta though. It's like it's a mix of the two.
It is.
You have to be defensive and offensive at the same time. There's no in between. Like you got to be watching for everybody else, but you also got to be pretty active on what you're going to be doing.
Oh, and it's really fun to drive in Atlanta with no left turn signal. Woo.
I don't know I've put a new bulb in it. I've changed the fuse.
We just need to take it somewhere.
I need somebody smarter than me to tell me what's wrong with it.
But it would
Gibbons.
be.
Yeah, Gibbons is my spot.
We'd have to like ride in.
You want to pick me up for work sometime this week?
We'd have to like ride in a lane and like we needed to get off on an exit, and he's like, well, I have to stay here because if I need to.
But no one knows what that is.
He's like, if I have to get back over, like I can't. I don't have a left turn signal, so it was very complicated. But we made it out alive somehow after almost getting hit like 12 times, and there being like ginormous potholes in the road that would like almost flip us.
You know how sometimes they'll like dig out a section of the road and they put one of those like metal grates over it? It was like that, but they didn't put the metal grate over it. It was just sitting in the road, and like I fully thought like I was about to drop all my axles.
Like his phone fell off the thing. It was.
I saw a TikTok the other day where it was like someone just had a camera pointed at it. It was like a Asian company or a country, because you could tell by the cars or whatever. But it was raining and all this kind of stuff, and so like the water had filled up these huge holes.
Oh no!
And they're like there's just one car after another, just like bounces in and ramps up kind of stuff, and you just see them like go. I'm like, goodness gracious!
It's like Mario Kart. Mario Kart.
It's a trap every time. I mean, projects wise, like the next day, because I'm an introvert extrovert, and
I love when they stare.
we have a glass studio and people just stare in, and that's all good. They see activity. That's the purpose. Anyways, like I'm an introvert extrovert. I will be extroverted when I need to be, but then that energy just is gone. So Friday I stayed at the house and I was like, I'll work on stuff at the house. I'm not coming to the studio. I'm not interacting with anybody. I'm done for a few days.
I've had to learn how to be a little extroverted, but it's not my nature. We weren't even fully in it like you guys were, because we didn't know a lot of the people that were here Thursday, but still just being
we
in
were talking to Kristen's sister. We were talking to Faith, so
being in an atmosphere where there was so much social activity happening just took it out of us.
Yeah,
and we weren't even
literally
doing anything.
That's why I had to
it's exhausting.
go inside and outside at times just to give myself some space.
Yeah.
But
I'm just neither one of us are extroverted. That was like a thing where when we were in Hamilton, we would go to someone's house. They'd be like having some type of party or whatever. And we'd be there for like 10 minutes. And then we would just be like, you ready to go?
We'd give each other the look.
Yeah, we'd like literally give each other the look and be like, oh, we got to head out. And then we'd like leave and just go to his house and watch something because we just can't.
Every couple has that look. You're like,
let's go.
It was. I vividly remember it was
I'm
like
like-
a Christmas party or something.
Yeah.
You were like on a couch over there, and I'm
I
like
know,
sitting
and
on the
he's-
stairs, and I was just like,
And we just looked at each other, literally.
mine's like
See
a
ya.
little like
Yeah.
little head tilt. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's
We're
go.
like, let's go.
There was other stuff that happened, but just little
nothing really of note.
like my weekend when I had some moments like I was.
It was his birthday. Happy birthday, Josh.
Appreciate it.
And
So
Kristen,
mine
And
was the 10th.
Kristen, yes.
And
And mine is
definitely
this
the 11th,
week.
not
how
the
did
9th.
how did y'all manage that?
Some of the interesting, I don't know what word to describe it, but coincidences are kind of crazy. So it's like my dad's name is Kenneth, and then there's it's Ken's middle name, but he goes by Ken.
Yeah.
It's William Kenneth Parrish. So and my middle name's Kenneth. So they're like, there's that similarity. And then, my birthday is on the 10th, hers is the 11th. So there's like super easy to remember kind of stuff. I'm a Gator fan. Ken is a Gator fan. So like that worked out, like the whole son or father-in-law kind of stuff worked out there. Just different stuff like that. It's kind of interesting how that worked out. But then your birthday's coming up. So June's a heavy birthday month on
Yeah,
Team
my
Evergreen.
birthday is this Saturday. And if this podcast is coming out Friday, you still have time to give me a present, everyone who's listening. I live at Princeton Place Apartments. You can send it to...
You want to give the gay code or anything?
Yeah.
Toss it over.
Yeah, toss it
Just
over.
toss it over.
Just put my name on it. Someone will put it in the
That's
Facebook
funny.
group. Thank you.
And then July on our family end is a big birthday month because my brother's on the 2nd, and then I have a nephew that's on the 4th, Olivia's the 5th, and Chris is the 7th. No, other way around with the kids. But so yeah, like a full week of birthdays there.
Boom.
We
So, yeah.
actually almost got something for the office. Well, technically for you and Kristen for your birthday
What?
from an art museum that we went to yesterday. But it didn't have a price tag on it, but everything there in the gift shop was like $300, $200. So
we
were
know
like,
where our value's at.
so we were like, no, thank you. Well,
Just messing with you.
we paid $50 for parking. So no.
Yeah, I hear
But
that.
it was this it was actually just a pencil sharpener, but it looked like a camera.
Mhm.
And it was really cool, and Houston was looking at it, but there was no price tag, and that scared me.
But also, I was like, who uses pencils?
I know, but I
My
told him
kids
I was
do,
like
that's
they'd
about it.
probably still enjoy it though, like if to just have at the office. But
What was pretty neat, that plant over on the table there is from Chris Lurie from Dinosaur Tattoo Company.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he stopped in and he was like, here's something that you can fail at. It was funny. So that was nice to get some love from that too. Like I think that was like around 4 o'clock or so.
Mhm.
I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Oh, so it was like right after we left.
Yeah, but and then Tara Temptations, same building. Her birthday is on the 9th. And so yeah, June is just a happy birthday month, but she always does cupcakes for like the birthday people in the building, so it's cool. And she doesn't do cupcakes, so it's always a fun little
Special
treat. Yeah, special treat for knowing her. So yeah, we got cupcakes and then we got that plant, so that was pretty cool.
Sweet.
And
so happy birthday,
I'm not sure.
Evergreen.
it looks like it's the same plant as what we have over there too, so that kind of works out.
It would have worked
it'll
out
grow that tall, though.
if Houston's birthday was in June. It would have worked out because it would have been Evergreen's birthday, your birthday,
Yeah.
Kristen's birthday, my birthday, and
Sorry.
Yeah,
Since
the whole
the
reason why we
odd
did
one
April.
June 9th, 9th as the open house is because I don't know if it's the day, but it's definitely the week. It's been a year being like operating out of the studio.
I had not seen the photos of what the studio looked like before y'all
Did you see
did
it?
everything. But yeah, when it was
Mhm.
playing one of the
Yeah.
videos on the TV, It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a pretty big transformation.
It was ugly.
It was a dump. Like, it was there was nasty carpet. It has floating ceiling tiles that were just halfway gone. Um, yeah, it was just, and then like above the ceiling tile, the wiring that was in this place was nuts. It was so much wires. I guess there was like some sort of telecommunications business of some sort, so they had phone wires just stretched out everywhere. So the demolition side of stuff was pretty interesting. And yeah, I'm pretty happy. Like, pretty much anybody that walks in here now that hasn't been in the place like loves it.
Oh, everybody
Yeah, it's
who's been
always a
here for the first
compliment.
time says stuff about
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
like,
Even my dad said something. He was like, "This place is really nice."
so like some of my inspiration is from Peter McKinnon kind of style, and like the white walls, the blacked out roof. You know, something that I wanted to go for. So there's a little bit of inspiration. Nowhere near his nest, but I don't know if you've never
Maybe
seen
one
Peter
day.
McKinnon's studio. It like, look it up on YouTube. He's got content about it, and it's nuts. And he doesn't even use most of it, but it's pretty sick. It'd be cool to have a space like that, but ideally, we've mentioned this before. We're, as much as we like this place, we need a bigger space.
Need more room.
Need more room, but also to the point of why we're recording right here. Like, we're doing a lot more work with clients, doing, you know, A-roll and interview type stuff. So we just need a spot where we can have the air conditioning running, but not interfere with the audio. So, but on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this podcast.
We've been recording a long time.
I need some
You
water.
just feel like that every 5 minutes. You're like, "How long have we been
It
recording?"
feels like it's been a long time. It took
I
so
mean,
long for us
it's-
to get through Monday.
It's basically, we didn't even get to Monday before all that. But if you're interested in working with us, we love to hear from you. You can reach out. If you want to listen to your prior podcast, you can go to our podcast episode page. The episode page also has anything that we refer to. So any kind of projects that we finish up and can share, you can see that. Also, contact information, all that kind of fun stuff. Again, the launch of Evergreen Photo Bus is the soft launch, but you can start to follow our Instagram page and the journey with that, and keep up with our progress with the bus with Lori. And our weddings website should be up and running pretty soon too. Just got to wrap up a few details and get that out there. And I would actually like to take an episode and kind of talk about that whole. Actually, it probably will be a good talking point next week, because goals are to have that done this week and have it
Nice.
published. And we can go over the reason why we split off from the corporate page and some of the benefits that we believe in with doing that kind of stuff. Also, content wise, again, I think I mentioned it before, just coming up with more educational content to just communicate with clients and other businesses and be able to get some points out there that we normally talk about and try to talk about, but also just to try to bring people up to speed of what the industry is right now and try to just alleviate some of the stress or potential stress, but also just lay out expectations. So I plan to try to start a series of videos about the wedding industry from the perspective of a photographer and videographer company. Also, it's that time of year. So many announcements that I didn't even think about until I started talking about. But Best of the Wiregrass nomination phase is right now. And so we have won the videographer award for 4 years in a row, ever since we started. And we've got runner-up photographer a couple of times. So it's the nomination phase, which means you just nominate your favorite people. And I think they include like the top 5. And then once that phase is wrapped up, I got to make a blog post about it, and I'll put it on our website so all the information is there. But then phase 2 is the actual vote, and so you can vote every day and so vote for your favorite categories in the Wiregrass. So hopefully goals are to be able to at least keep the videographer crown and maybe get the photographer one this time. So we need help. with that said, I'm hungry already. It's lunchtime. We've recorded about an hour
Oh
after
my God,
what we
it
normally
is
do.
lunchtime.
So, what y'all do for lunch today?
No clue.
Going to Publix, getting some sushi.
Kristen packed me lunch, so thanks. Shout out to Kristen, Chef Kristen.
Shout out Kristen.
And I have no idea what she packs. It's gonna be a surprise.
Little lunchbox.
It's not little. It's like would not fit in a
Stacked.
backpack. But yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
So for this pro tip, I want to talk about something that is kind of ironic because I can't stand it when I get asked a ton of questions. But one of the best ways for pre-production and planning and just being able to give a quote is to ask questions. You've got to learn the art of the question. That's one of the things I learned in my psychology classes and things like that. Learning the art of the question. Being able to ask the right questions, being able to know what to try to pull out of the client so that way you can all have the best experience overall. So yeah, asking the right questions such as, how long is this going to take? What's your idea? What's your vision? What all elements are involved? Who needs to be in the video? Who is going to be signing off on this? Is there an approval process? There's so many different questions and it might be a little bit overwhelming. So that's where, again, learning the art of the question comes in play. You don't necessarily need to bombard them with questions back to back, but through the process, definitely be asking all the right questions. Just kind of step back for a second and ask yourself, what do you need to know from the client?
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We appreciate you watching or listening. If you find value from this podcast, please leave a review. It helps rank us up into the podcast algorithms. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the show and share some of your project experiences, let us know, reach out, and we'll be happy to have you on the show, get you scheduled on. If you're a client and want to work on a project with us, there's contact information down below in the video description. We're looking forward to hearing from you and see what your ideas are and see how we can potentially be a fit to make your project happen. Until then, we'll catch you next episode.